A lawsuit against cable host Nancy Grace, accusing her of intentionally inflicting emotional distress on a guest who committed suicide the next day. A judge has ruled that Grace's testimony can be videotaped, but her attorneys are fighting back, and Chris Cuomo explains why.
No, that is not what I said.
Television host Nancy Grace is known for her interrogation-style interviews. But in September 2006, she was the one under fire when 21-year-old Melinda Duckett committed suicide after a phone interview on Grace's show.
Where were you? Why aren't you telling us where you were that day?
Duckett was the mother of missing 2-year-old Trenton Duckett, who had disappeared from his bedroom that August.
Why aren't you telling us and giving us a clear picture where you were before your son was kidnapped?
Because I'm not going to put those kind of details out.
Why?
Because I was told not to.
Grace continued to press Duckett, at one point hinting she was hiding something.
Miss Duckett, you're not telling us for a reason. What is the reason you refuse to give even the simplest facts of where you were with your son before he went missing?
Duckett committed suicide the very next day, hours before her interview aired on Grace's CNN headline news program. When I spoke with Grace just a week later, she was unapologetic.
I think it happened because Melinda Duckett may very well know where her son was. If anything, I would suggest guilt caused her to commit suicide.
But Duckett's family disagrees and has spent the past 4 years in a legal battle with Grace and CNN, claiming Grace's intentional infliction of emotional distress led Duckett to commit suicide.
The family believes Nancy Grace caused Melinda Duckett's suicide.
And in a surprising turn, Grace, a woman who's made her living in front of the cameras, is now trying to hide from them. In a motion obtained by ABC News, Grace's lawyers argue videotaping her testimony could lead to, quote, annoyance, embarrassment, oppression, and undue harm should the videotape be released prior to trial. For Good Morning America, Chris Cuomo, ABC News, New York.
And the little boy, Trenton Duckett, still has not been found. Joining us now from Los Angeles with more on this case, renowned defense attorney Dana Cole. Dana, thank you for being with us this morning. And we learned overnight that the judge has ruled that despite her efforts, Nancy's deposition will be videotaped. Not really surprising here?
Not even slightly surprising. Most states allow videotaping of deposition, and the irony is that Nancy Grace's lawyers had videotaped all of the plaintiff's witnesses, but when it came to Nancy Grace, who lives in front of the camera,
right,
you know, that was all of a sudden something she didn't want to be a part of, which is kind of funny. But the judge made the right call there.
And so now she's going to strongly argue that it should not be seen anywhere, that shouldn't be leaked to a third party of any sort, right?
Well, yes, but that I can slightly understand because depositions are, you know, you don't want to taint a potential jury pool, so they want to preserve these depositions for time of trial. But at some point in time, I think those depositions might get released, perhaps after this case is concluded.
Describe the case for the plaintiffs, Melinda Duckett's family, for us a little bit more.
Sure. You know, this is a woman who was psychologically, emotionally unstable. She appeared on Nancy's show, and the key issue really is, what was she told before going on the show? You know, Nancy has never met a victim that she doesn't love and has never met a suspect that she wants to tar and feather. You know, if that were permitted under law, she would be, you know, the first to advocate for that. So, you know, she's tough when it comes to suspects and defendants and loves victims. So the question is, how was this interview initially pitched to this woman? Was it that they were going to be sensitive, wanting to help her in her quest to find her child? Or were they a little less committal about how the interview was going to play out? And was there some sort of deception involved in trying to get her on the show?
Well, Nancy's passion is well documented, as you know. So what is her defense, Dana?
Well, her defense is that, hey, I'm a reporter. I have a right to ask any question I want. This lady voluntarily came on my show. And as the interview progressed, you know, there were things that Melinda Duckett was saying that wasn't sitting well with Nancy, and she had a right to sort of follow up. Her style is confrontational. She likes to cross-examine guests, and that's what she was doing. And there should have been no surprise, and Melinda Duckett was sort of fair game because she voluntarily appeared on the show. Additionally,
you saw the interview. Excuse me, Dana. You saw the interview. Do you think that Nancy Grace went too far?
You know, to be quite honest, I actually don't think she went too far because, you know, she started off being, frankly, somewhat sensitive and gave Melinda Duckett an opportunity to offer all sorts of explanations. But then there was sort of a turn in the interview where Melinda Duckett became a little more secretive and less forthcoming, and that's when sort of Nancy went in for the kill, so to speak, and kept demanding answers that Melinda was not willing to give. So, you know, I could see how the interview progressed, and it sort of did progress logically. So while I'm not a huge fan of Nancy, and a lot of criminal defense lawyers call her Nancy Disgrace, the fact is I don't think she necessarily went beyond the pale in this particular interview.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Dana Cole, thank you so much for your insight. Have a good day there in L.A.
You
Thanks,
too.
Dana.
Thanks, Robin.